Making a living by flaunting your luxury-filled daily life on social media makes a lot of influencers lose their minds to the point where they start feeling untouchable. That's exactly what happened with Marianne Gonzaga. No consequences for anything she did. We're talking everything from street fights, where she threw punches and bottles, to publicly leaking intimate nude photos of her rivals. But the clearest proof that the world we live in makes no sense came the night this teenager planned the murder of another content creator. And as a result, not only avoided spending even a full year in prison, but is now more famous than ever, all because she literally got blood on her hands. The story you're about to hear? I initially thought it was just a dumb influencer beef. It's not. The deeper you dig into this case, the more chilling it becomes. We're talking about a girl who premeditated a killing. And today not only has a huge group of people defending her, but some even see her as a role model. Marianne Gonzaga Rodriguez was born on November 1, 2007 in Cancun, Mexico, into what appeared to be a wealthy family. At least that's the image. The only thing we know for sure is that her father was never truly present. He sent money and disappeared. That left her mother, Cynthia Lacon, as the only figure at home, and her specialty as a parent was being extremely permissive. When I say permissive, I mean she literally let her daughter do whatever she wanted. It wasn't rare to see Marianne screaming at and insulting her mother in front of other people, and the woman didn't so much as lift a finger. No punishment, no boundaries, nothing. Marianne bragged about this to her friends, proudly saying her mom was a liberal woman who gave her total freedom, as if that were something to celebrate. In reality, this wasn't modern parenting. This was a mother who, just like her daughter, didn't really care. By the time she was 13, Marianne already led a completely out-of-control lifestyle. She partied in 18-plus venues with a fake eye, drank heavily, did drugs, traveled wherever she felt like, came home at 7 in the morning without explanations, slept wherever she wanted, and brought boys over with no one to stop her. And she showed off all of this online. She grew up believing her desires were above everything and everyone, because nobody ever drew a line. As you'd expect, that slowly shaped a personality that became more and more toxic and dangerous with each passing year. Soon you could find compilations of her fights online, Marianne completely out of control, throwing punches and smashing bottles at people. Because she was underage, there were no real consequences. And it didn't stop at street fights. Many times, driven by anger and jealousy, she hacked or otherwise obtained intimate photos and videos of other girls, many of them minors, and posted them on accounts dedicated to humiliating them. If a girl in her city simply had more followers than she did, or if a guy she liked showed interest in someone else, that alone could be enough for Marianne to leak their nudes. Things got so bad that in 2001, the Instagram page, Feminist Girls, publicly called her out for harassment and defamation. That's how unbearable she was. Even feminist accounts couldn't stand her behavior. And it got worse. A wave of testimonies appeared from people saying they had received death threats from Marianne. She loved to brag that she had friends tied to organized crime and used that to intimidate anyone who crossed her. There are audios where she literally says she has narco friends who can do things to people. All of these call-outs and public exposés, instead of hurting her, they gave her more fame and more followers. She turned that bad reputation into fuel for her Instagram and TikTok. Her fashion and luxury content started going viral. Exclusive brands, expensive trips, high-end restaurants, the classic, successful influencer lifestyle. It was easy attention and easy money. So when she got expelled from school, she dropped her studies and decided to be a full-time influencer. To complete the dream package, Marianne also showed off her relationship with Jose Said Becerril, another boy her age who soon appeared in all her posts. Online, they were the little princess and the little prince. But as you can imagine, not everything was as shiny and perfect as it looked. Behind the scenes, Marianne's main focus was still parties and status. She chased older crowds and famous people. Thanks to her social media presence, she ended up hanging out with artists like Nathaniel Cano, who invited her to an after-party at a nightclub. In those environments, Marianne completely let go of any restraint. She did cocaine, drank until she blacked out, and was taken to the ER at least 3 times for alcohol poisoning. And remember, we're talking about a girl around 13 or 14. She got into clubs using a fake ID that said she was 20. When bouncers caught on, she simply bribed them to let her in. Her family tried sending her to Alcoholics Anonymous, but it didn't change a thing. Online, though, she looked like she had everything under control. Successful, glamorous, always traveling, always winning. In 2024, when she got pregnant, she turned that into content as well. She shared photos of the pregnancy with her boyfriend Jose and claimed she was 19, when in reality she was 16. They wanted to present the image of a young traditional family, not of an accidental teen pregnancy. In truth, both of them seriously considered abortion. According to Marianne, everything changed the day of the ultrasound. When she heard the baby's heartbeat, she says her view of motherhood transformed, and she decided to go ahead with the pregnancy. For many people, a child can be a wake-up call, but for Jose, it was a nightmare. He did not want to be a father at all. Yet he hadn't done anything to prevent the pregnancy, and later told her he had a life to live, that he wasn't going to sacrifice himself to be responsible, that she was dramatic, and that almost all women go through this and don't act like her, basically telling her there are plenty of single moms, so she shouldn't cry because he left. Even if Marianne is far from innocent, no one deserves that kind of treatment. After Marianne exposed these messages publicly, the relationship ended. She continued growing on social media. Jose enjoyed being single, convinced he was finally free of his toxic ex. He was wrong. Sometime later, he began dating 18-year-old model and content creator Valentina Gilabert, granddaughter of Mexican actress Ileana de la Garza. Valentina, like Marianne, posted fashion and lifestyle content, but she stayed away from drama and didn't have as many followers. At first, Marianne and Valentina were even cordial. They liked each other's posts, left compliments, and acted like they got along. That ended as soon as Marianne discovered that Valentina and Jose were secretly seeing each other. The irony? By then, Marianne herself had already gone out with another guy, but emotionally, she couldn't let go of her ex. She started harassing Valentina, posting her photos and even her home address, and sending messages saying she'd wake up dead in trash bags. This wasn't just jealousy anymore. It was criminal intimidation. The main person feeding Marianne information about Jose and Valentina was her friend, Aitane Ixaso. Aitane played both sides, pretending to be best friends with both girls, but in reality, she wanted Jose herself. Her plan was to get them to fight so she could be the one left standing. She shared confidences and gossip with each of them, pretending to be worried, but in fact stirring up more drama. What she didn't understand or chose to ignore is that she was playing with fire, not just a spark, but a bomb. Marianne was not the kind of person who would simply cry and move on. She decided to act. On February 5, 2025, Aitane organized a party at her house in Jardines del Pedregal in southern Mexico City. From the start, Valentina didn't want to go. She knew Marianne hated her and wanted to avoid any confrontation. But Aitane called her, insisted over and over, and swore on her life that Marianne would not be there. Ignoring multiple red flags, Valentina finally agreed to go. When she arrived, everything looked normal. In the house were Aitane, Jose, and another young man named Akram Amir Martinez. There was no sign of Marianne anywhere. That made Valentina relax for a while. At some point, Aitane asked Valentina to tell Jose to go buy some 6 packs of beer because she had a big story to tell her. She even told Jose to take his time, saying she needed to discuss private matters with Valentina. He left for the store without suspecting anything. Once he was gone, Aitane asked Valentina to go with her to the bathroom. Once inside, she locked the door. Instead of revealing any important gossip, she started talking about random, meaningless things stalling for time. Then a WhatsApp notification appeared on Aitane's phone. It was a message from Marianne. Just a single character, a dot. That was the signal. Now frightened, Valentina asked to leave the bathroom. As soon as she stepped out, she was ambushed by Marianne, who had been hiding in a room for hours, waiting for that exact moment. Marianne started yelling at her, then ran to the kitchen, grabbed 2 knives, and chased Valentina through the house. She caught up to her and stabbed her from behind. Valentina fell to the ground. Marianne didn't stop. She stabbed her 3 more times in the chest, the face, and the head. Suddenly, Valentina couldn't breathe. One of her lungs had been punctured. By pure survival instinct, she lay flat on the ground, trying to put pressure on the wound to keep air from escaping. Marianne took that as just another opportunity to cause harm and stabbed her hand, causing an injury so severe that doctors later doubted whether she'd ever fully recover its mobility. After that, with chilling calmness, Marianne told Eitain to help her clean up the blood and walked away. Despite her wounds and barely being able to breathe, Valentina managed to stand up and try to escape. Terrified Marianne would come back to finish her off. With a weak voice, she asked Eitain why she hadn't helped her. Eitain answered coldly that Marianne had a knife in her hand. What did she expect her to do? When Marianne saw that Valentina was trying to get away, she lunged at her again and stabbed her twice more in the neck. Nobody in that house tried to help Valentina. She was on the floor, about to lose consciousness, until Jose finally came back from the store. He walked into a nightmare, blood on the floor, his girlfriend stabbed multiple times, and his ex with a knife. He ran to help Valentina and called the authorities. Meanwhile, Marianne was not in shock, not crying, not apologizing. She recorded and posted a video complaining that instead of arguing with her about his jacket, Jose preferred to help his girlfriend who was bleeding out on the ground. Valentina was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Doctors said she would need at least 9 reconstructive surgeries. She was placed in intensive care, induced into a coma, and her life hung by a thread for days. Marianne tried to flee but was arrested shortly after and taken to a juvenile detention center for girls. It took 5 days for any family member of Marianne to show up. Even though she was still a minor, online she had hundreds of thousands of followers. In real life, she had almost no one. During this time, she reportedly never asked to see her baby, fueling speculation that she had the child mainly to trap Jose or gain attention, not out of genuine maternal instinct. Despite clear planning and brutality, the crime was not classified as attempted femicide, simply because she was underage. The same girl who did drugs, faked IDs, went clubbing, had unprotected sex, and harassed minors online was suddenly treated as a confused, defenseless child by the justice system. She was charged only with intentional bodily harm, with a maximum penalty of 5 years in juvenile detention, plus about 40,000 pesos in compensation, barely enough to cover part of Valentina's medical bills. A month later, authorities also arrested Eitain and Akram as suspected accomplices. But in practice, nothing serious happened to them either. According to Marianne herself, the juvenile center was more like a summer camp. Weekly therapy, English, cooking, and sewing classes, learning basic chores like mopping and washing clothes for the first time in her life. While Valentina was relearning how to walk, eat, and bathe, Marianne later appeared on TikTok, doing her makeup and talking about the experience like it was a trip abroad. At first, people believed Marianne would spend around 2 years locked up. In reality, she was released under supervised freedom in July, a special kind of parole for minors after just 5 months. 5 months for at least 15 stab wounds. One of the conditions of her release was that she couldn't contact or approach Valentina. But things got even stranger. Publicly, Valentina forgave her, and they even met at a cafe to close that dark chapter. Marianne used that moment as content, calling it the end of a dark stage in her life. From there, she went on a media tour, TV appearances, podcasts, TikToks about her time inside, describing the center as if it were a spiritual retreat. When asked about the attack, she claimed she doesn't remember anything. And because she was a minor, none of this gave her a criminal record, even though she was just 9 months away from turning 18. Valentina posted that everyone deserves a second chance, which many people think she said under fear or pressure, because what happened next makes no sense. Instead of staying quiet, Marianne started posting indirect jabs at Valentina, manipulating her followers into seeing Valentina as the villain who brought it on herself, and doing nothing to stop the hate campaign against the girl she almost killed. She even posted phrases like expert in tattooing without ink, clearly mocking the scars she left on Valentina's body. Suspicious accounts appeared, leaving hateful comments on Valentina's posts with bios threatening machetes to the back of the neck. Many suspect they belonged to Marianne, or people close to her. Meanwhile, some girls on social media started making trends, joking that they would finish what Marianne started, or that they would do a Marianne if someone touched their man. Because Marianne almost killed someone, spent only 5 months in a soft juvenile center, and came out more famous, with higher rates and brands still working with her. Her collaboration prices went up by 72%. She now charges tens of thousands of pesos for sponsored content. Some brands that once worked with Valentina now work with Marianne. When people talk about boycotting any brand that hires her, she claims they're denying her right to reinsertion and that this is her job. Recently, she even regained custody of her daughter, Ima. Her life is pretty much the same as before, or better, while Valentina lives with permanent scars, trauma, and ongoing online harassment, often from other women telling her she asked for it. This case shows how distorted our priorities have become. With enough followers, even an almost fatal stabbing can be turned into content. A minor can plan a brutal attack, leave someone at the edge of death, and walk out as if she had just gone to camp. For some brands, engagement matters more than ethics. And as long as we keep watching, sharing, and glorifying people like this, they will keep winning. Now it's your turn. Would you stop buying from a brand that pays someone like this to promote their products? Drop your opinion below and name at least one brand you think crossed the line. If you want these stories to reach more people, share this video, leave a like, and subscribe so we can keep calling out influencers who think they're above the law.